if you were at Final Order 2 in Pemberton, New Jersey at On Target Paintball over the past weekend, like I was, and you were on the green team, you probably had a damn good time. You guys outnumbered the tan team by 3-2, I believe. I think the player count was 65 to 38 or something like that. So around that, you guys pushed us back pretty good, all the way back to the castle, which was what I was tasked with defending with this guy. So we it didn't take long for the green team to get to our spawn, which kind of was upsetting to us that we couldn't, keep up a good defense. But you learn from your losses more than you learn from your wins. So if you're on the tan team like I was, you might have heard me shouting at people. I was third platoon leader in charge of defending the castle or taking it back. And I was trying to motivate a lot of guys, and it worked a little bit. But for the most part, everybody was kind of just, we're going to move up, but I'm afraid to get hit. I'm afraid of getting hit. And that was kind of how the gameplay went up until the very last couple of hours of actual gameplay. So, like I mentioned before, this was the op was called Final Order 2. It was produced by Nomad Milsim, and it was hosted at the On Target Paintball and Airsoft Park in Pemberton, New Jersey. First time in a while I've been in New Jersey. I'm from PA, so you can't do anything suspicious. So all your stuff in your car has to be nice and tucked away and neat. They'll pull you over for anything, so be careful if you're going out that way. I went with a group of guys who I've known for a while. Actually, one of them I hadn't met before, but the other two, pretty good friends with, pretty good acquaintances at least. So those two friends, the other three, one was the CO on the tan team. His name, he goes by Viper Actual. Real name's Ryan. Good guy. His security element was the other two guys, right? And then I'm the leader of the third platoon, which is in charge of defense. And then there's a couple of guys here in the Discord that were organized that, so nothing really got, just so you know what to expect, and maybe do better or improve on when you're doing a Milsim or a Milsim Light, which I would consider this a Milsim Light, would be to get a plan together. I know that plans, they go to crap like immediately upon contact, but it's still good to have, plan A, plan B, plan C, like a formation, get guys that are, and being in the right mindset is all of it, because you need guys that are into it. You don't want guys that are, you can have cannon fodder by all means, and we actually had some walk-ons show up throughout the day that I just used as cannon fodder. Sorry guys, but I needed help. We needed bodies. People kept walking off because they were frustrated. But yeah, you need a plan. I started, when we were at spawn, right before the game fully started, I was trying to go over maps with some people from third platoon and show them what I wanted, what I expected. Basically, the plan was just to hold the castle. Like, in 3 words, that was it. So we didn't do that the whole day, but that's fine. That's, like I said before, you learn from your losses. On a personal level, I learned a lot about this and about myself, my physical state. I need to do better, both with this dude, with my teching ability, and with my physical state. And also preparedness. I was a Boy Scout growing up, so it's like I'm kind of getting lax on it. I'm not as prepared as I used to be. So that being said, you need stuff like, water's like number 1 thing. But the number 2 thing is like decent food, decent ready to eat food, which I had a problem with. I don't know what happened to me, but let's not go, because that's kind of later in the day. Let me start chronologically. All right, so we get there, helicopter, by the way, helicopter comes in, right over our heads in the parking lot, goes and lands downfield. We're like, that's so cool. Like, I can't wait to see what that's going to do. It looked like a Rawlinson. It was a big orange, I think an R44 or K44, whatever they're called. But it's a four-seater. So they had the pilot on one side, and then they had two gunners, so to speak, on the other side in seats, strapped in, that could shoot out from the helicopter. And obviously you can't shoot at the helicopter like any Milsim event. There are a couple times, intrusive thoughts, I have a machine gun, but no. It was still really cool to dodge that. At one point in the castle, we were we were targeted specifically by the helicopter for like 8 passes, and the thing kept coming around, and just we would, there was a central, I don't know if you call it a blockhouse or something like that, but we'd hide on one side of the blockhouse, the opposite side of the blockhouse of where the helicopter was, and we just have to keep running around and running around and running around. And after 8 passes, I'm like, dude, I I can't do this. So I ended up just kind of chilling in the a little outcropping. I think I did get hit at that point. But yeah, so yeah, anyway, chronologically, we went to the briefing. At the briefing, there was not a lot of tan representation. There's a lot of green, and probably at least, I'd say the black team, which was like a third team in there, like a mercenary, a hireable team, had as many guys as the tan team, at least at the briefing. Now, I know that there were other guys that weren't there. We had a lot of tan showing up late, stuff like that, which is, whatever. I don't love it, but can't change it. So, so after that, the briefing was pretty short, pretty, straight and to the point. We all got ready. We all walked out to our spawns respectively, and that's where I started, like, our CO, Viper, was explaining to people, like, who I was, I think we had a first platoon leader, but I don't think we had a second platoon leader until later in the day. We actually had a kid, and if you're this guy, I wouldn't say kid, he's like 21, he said. But if you're this guy, let me know in the comments, because I was really impressed by your leadership. But he showed up as a walk-on with like a gas-operated Mark 18, which didn't have a lot of ammunition or gas or something like that. So he borrowed my pistol at some point, and he wrecked with it. So I'm really, like, I'm proud of you, dude. So if you know who you are, drop a comment, and let's do some other stuff together. So, because I was really impressed. Let's see. So after spawn, and after we got all the kinks sorted out, people knowing where their leaders were, if it mattered to people, you could tell. If they're just like kind of hanging out in the back and doing whatever, probably didn't matter what their leader was, and that's fine. It's a Milsim light. If it's a Milsim, you expect everybody to be like, hey, you got to be in the game mentally, and you got to know who these people are. With the Milsim light, people weren't taking it as seriously, which is fine. Like, I'm not paying $80 for some dude to like yell at me and tell me what to do, which is kind of what I was doing. I wasn't being mean about it at any point, but I was saying, like, all right, you guys, we got to get, fire maneuver. If you're not moving, you got to be shooting. If you're not doing either thing, you got to be, communicate, call them out, tell us what you see, so somebody else with a better angle can get them. That's kind of like the basics of small unit. So, and I'm not military or anything, but I've listened to the odd YouTube video, and I've done a lot of research. Like, I'm the type of guy that falls asleep reading Wikipedia articles about historical vehicles and tactics and stuff like that. So call me a nerd, I don't care. But that's, it's fun, and it does put me to sleep, so it works. Yeah, but starting out there, I knew all I had to worry about was getting right to the castle. And I think I had it would seem like 2/5 to half of the team was in 3rd platoon or wanted to be defensive. Because up until that point, not everybody's on Discord, not everybody got organized. Up until that point, people didn't know what they were going to get into in the game. So we gave them the option, do you want to be defensive, do you want to be offensive? So defensive was 3rd platoon, offensive was 1st platoon. And I'd say it split about half and half, with 1st platoon having a little bit more guys. But I was surprised at how many people wanted to be defensive. Kind of scared me too, because there was a lot of the field to lock down, and we're just focused on the castle in 3rd platoon. So and second platoon was non-existent basically. So um, we rushed the castle first thing. Obviously, it was the closest thing to our spawn, and we were tasked with holding it because it was if we lost it, that's it, and we did at one point. We got overrun, but again, I mean, we're outnumbered. I know it's no excuse, but there was just so much to cover from so many angles. Like this, I ran up with this guy, you know, which this weighs like, I don't know, probably 15 to 20 pounds, which is not terrible for an MG. And then I think it's 15,000 BBs in there for it. And all day people were giving me looks, you know, like saying either, hey, that's cool, or like, you know, I fucking hate you. But yeah, we'll go into this later, but I just wanted to show you guys what I was bringing to the table when it comes to how to defend this thing and why I specifically wanted to be on defense, because I wanted to try this guy out. And I'm not gonna go, I mean, I can rush people with this, but it's not ideal. You know, you'd rather have guys with the, you know, 6-pound M4 than a 15 or 20 pound MG. When the only trade-off is that you can shoot full auto. It kind of makes sense to have the lighter gun. So, but yeah, we get up to the castle and we hold it for, I think, about half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour even. It's hard to tell when the time, or where the time was. I think it was even shorter because, you know, by the time I had my medical stuff going on, it was like 2:30, 2:45, 3 o'clock. So I know that we were only in the castle for like half of the time I was in there. So we got pushed out of the castle back to our spawn, and our spawn is like right by the staging area. And I don't know if you've ever been to OTP, but they got these tubes, like big septic, sewage, or stormwater drain tubes that they set up there as cover. They're very difficult to, you know, if you get behind one of them, you're covered in one direction, but then we have people in the forest over here, I think it was called Wasteland, like just flanking us. And that's where I got hit at least half the time. I was focused on the people in the castle. There was only ever like 4 to 8 people in the castle, but there might be like a whole squad over or more in the woods shooting at us that people weren't really paying attention to. So when the time came to charge, I was the one that was looking over to the left, you know, suppressing them. But I couldn't suppress the castle. So that was a problem. Would have been nice to have more than one. I think we had another LMG there. I think he just wanted to run the LMG for the sake of running an LMG because he wasn't, I don't know. I mean, you can't expect airsofters, everybody, like your average person, to know, you know, what your job is, you know. But when you go and you buy an LMG or you put money into it, and your object of the game or object of your personal game is to get kills, that's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to keep people's heads down so that your other guys can move up. It's a team game, you know. You suppress them so that your guys can move. You know, you can't move if you're under fire. If you try to move under fire, you're dead. It's like, so yeah. Anyway, but we had such a hard time, and we got pushed right back to our spawn. I think, I forget if the refs or the admins or whoever got in cahoots and said, we're going to move the spawn. So they moved us over to a place called Auto Zone, which is like a 90-degree pivot from the castle, about the same distance away, but it would give us more, like we had more, instead of having woods on our one side, we had what's called the desert, which was a far more open space. So it was more defensible from spawn. We had, from there, that's where it gets really interesting for me personally. And that's where after these events, it starts getting less interesting. So I might not even go into that really. So when they moved the spawn, we all hiked over there. Not everybody got the memo. Not everybody was told or was able to be told because they didn't have a radio or they were out somewhere that the spawn was moved. So some people went back to the old one and they got slaughtered. So the first thing we did was organize a counterattack. We had the CO there, we had me there as platoon leader. I even saw like everybody was back and forth out of that spawn. Like it was way better defensively than the other one was, because it was not just like a straight shot. You had like a back corner at least to work with, and a lot more cover with the cars and the buses there, which is why they call it AutoZone. So from there, I was reorganizing a counterattack. I asked the CO, what do you want me to do? He's like, take castle. We got to have that castle. I was like, okay. So I grabbed, the turn of events here is kind of fuzzy to me, because when you're in like an assault like that and you just want to take it and you're not like, your mind's in it, once you get hit and you come back, it's like, it's kind of all blends together. So I can't tell you how many times I got hit, went back and forth, but it took its toll on me physically to a point where I was having issues about 3 p.m., which is only 3 hours into the game. Out of I think a 10-hour intended to be 10-hour game, it turned into be like an 8-hour game, because people were just getting tired. Yeah, weren't there for it, I guess. So, but yeah, so I was trying to lead them back. I remember kind of like giving a little spiel about fire maneuver, how, you know, maneuver without fire is suicide, and fire without maneuver is wasted ammo. So you got to be doing both. You got to have. And I was trying to organize them like, I want 2 guys on Overwatch, like firing or picking out targets all the time, and I want 2 guys moving. Like if you're in a group and half of you is shooting, the other half should be moving. You know, that's how you gain ground. And you might get shot, but you know, get it out of the way, because it's just airsoft. You know, it's part of the game. So, and people were just afraid of getting shot. Like that was the whole reason that we got stuck at the first spawn, I believe, is because people wouldn't. It was just sad, and I was to blame too. I was, you know, there's a couple times where I would run up, and I'm thinking in my mind like, is this worth it? Like, do I want to run up and just get out? You know, is that really what I'm about to do? And that would happen, and I'd be like, I'd have to deal with it. You know, and you know, you don't always deal with it the most healthy way, but you deal with it. So, yeah, but it was, after the new one, we had a lot of guys getting pretty far up. We actually, I forget if, I don't know what was happening on the castle side. There's actually a video out there about it. He had a GoPro on, and I commented on his video that I was there up against you guys twice. And the first time, I think it was the time I'm about to tell you about right now, was when we were trying to counterattack and pushing up, and we got a couple guys right up to the castle wall, and then they said they got friendly fire incidents, and that was, you know, that was no bueno. I wasn't good with that, so I was shouting out, you know, watch out for friendly fire, you know, make sure that they're on your team, which is another issue with the whole game, is that I don't know if, like, there should have been armbands, I think, and I don't think it's unheard of for a paintball field to have armbands, and I don't know what happened there, but their solution to it was yellow electrical tape like around the arms so that you could barely see, and like strung up around plate carriers and stuff. And if you weren't really like, if your guy was like turned away from you in a certain way, you weren't really paying attention to that. You know, if he was, and there were guys that like in full green with yellow electrical tape on that came over to be tan. And I don't know if they were doing it to be sportsmanlike, because that's a good thing. It's nice. You know, you don't want to, anyway. But it was an issue. There was a lot of ID issues. Personally, I wasn't about to start shooting at people who I couldn't ID, because there was the black team, the third team. It's not just us or them, it's us, them, and them. So the black team was neutral unless they were paid off, which I think you could win a hand of blackjack or just find money and pay them with it. So I didn't want to shoot at them, because if you shot at them and they were neutral to you or friendly to you, they'd start shooting at you, which is not good for anybody, especially with how wrecked Tan Team was. So, yeah, let's see, where to go from here. Yeah, so I think we got right up to the castle with a couple of guys, and I believe we took it, and then I had my issues. You know, I was shaking. I couldn't stop shaking. I felt weak in the legs. I don't know if I'm diabetic. It runs in my family. but that could be it. I'm going to a doctor soon about it. I drank 6 bottles of water, in like an hour and a half. No, 2 hours. And it was still not doing it. I had packed some cans of Annis sausages, some cans of sardines. I thought the salt would help me retain water, and I think it did, but it was not nutritious enough. Like, I wasn't getting any sugar, anything like that, which kind of sucks for me because I don't want to have to depend on that. I'm kind of like a meat, fat, and veggies kind of guy when I can be. So I didn't want to have to pack like granola bars or, carbs basically. But you have to. If you're going to be doing something like this, it's strenuous, you have to. And that's a lesson that I learned personally. I have to be better prepared. It was a really dumb thing to do. I thought because I was going to be in a defensible position that I could pack like 4 water bottles onto my back belt on my hip in a big pouch, and that was a dumb idea. I should have brought my Camelback. My Camelback's just been sitting in my truck, and I need to wash it out. But anyway, yeah, that was a learning experience for me because I had to walk off the field at some point. It seemed like they got it. They got the castle back, and then by the time I got back, like an hour later, from like basically almost dying, not really, but that's what it felt like. It felt really bad, and I felt like stumbling everywhere. I came back. I think they said either they had the castle and they lost it right after I got back, or they had the castle before I got back and they lost it before I got back. I can't remember what it was. Like I said, a blur the entire time. And after my medical stuff, it was all kind of a blur. So I went back, and I was like, at this point, I was just like walking everywhere. I didn't want to run much anymore. I just, I knew I had this guy. I knew I could keep people's heads down, so that's basically what I tried to do. I went up to the castle, and there I found Zero's squad. Zero is a guy that our group had met before at another, I think, like Iron Shield or something like that. And those guys, like, they're very organized, and I appreciated how, dedicated they were and how, radio disciplined they were. It was great. It was great to watch them, like, do their thing. And the fact that they were on our team was awesome, too. I was in the castle with the MG, with Kelly here, and they had one of their guys. I don't know if they won a helicopter ride or if they paid for it, but they were in the helicopter while we were in the castle. So we were kind of like calling out targets to them while the helicopter was in the air, and they were firing at them. There are a couple like 2-story buildings around the outside of the castle that are facing into the castle that we had them light up because we were having problems with them. So that was fun. Like, that was cool to watch happen. We actually did get a couple of guys. Like, I don't think it was worth the whole ride, but we did get a couple of guys with the helicopter, and that was neat. Unfortunately, right after the helicopter left, or as the helicopter was leaving, I'm taking video, like a real short Snapchat video of it. Right after I put my phone down, get my gun back up, we get gotten from behind by a green crew, which is, like I said before, that other YouTube video that's out. There's probably going to be more out at some point, but the other one that's out as I'm speaking, within a week of the event, it details when the guy rushes the castle from our flank, I guess. It's not really behind, but from our flank, the opposite way that I was looking personally anyway. So yeah. And that was, I got caught with my pants down. Like, there was no rear security really. We had like one guy on the wall watching that way, and I bet, and I can't blame him, but I bet he was watching the helicopter too. And there's nothing wrong with it. I probably would have done the same thing, to be honest with you. So yeah, that was kind of a killer. I just kind of sat there for like 5 minutes because I was so tired. But it was fun to just like be in there, like watching Zero and his squad operate. Like, it was cool. It was fun, and that's what we're here for. So yeah, like I said, my medical issues it's just for me pushing myself too hard. I was carrying this thing. Ow. And trying to run with it and trying to, attack with it. And, you know, like if you're leading like a small unit or something like that, you kind of want to be, you have to be the morale. And what I was trying to do was just, um, I would try to be at the tip of the spear if I could, which was dumb with this thing, really dumb. But nobody else was doing it, so I figured, you know, if they see the guy with the 20-pound, you know, machine gun doing it, then I can do it too, you know. So I don't know, stupid in retrospect, but you know, when you see people just not really enjoying themselves and not enjoying the game, you got to do something. You know, I like airsoft a lot. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's not like it's a hobby for me. It's not like yeah, I don't take it super seriously. It's a game at the end of the day. If you use it as a training tool, you really should only be using it as a training tool in CQB because the ranges don't match up. You know, you can walk through a field at 300 feet and I probably can't hit you with an airsoft gun, but I damn sure can hit you with a real gun. So it teaches you the wrong thing when it comes to, you know, distances and, you know, sight lines and stuff like that. Like if you, usually with a gun, if you can see it with your bare eyes, you can usually hit it if you're a good shot, if you're a good enough shot, but your range is usually there. Even a 22 angled the right way, you know, you can get a decent amount. So, but yeah, anyway, the after that, things kind of died down. I think green team either left their side because they were bored of kicking our butts, or they might have switched the team to make it more even. Tan ended up winning, according to Discord. Tan ended up winning that day, and I was questioning that myself. I was like, "How, dude? We sucked the whole entire day, up until the very end." My theory is, because I haven't really looked too much into it, because it's just I had fun, you know. I don't care, but my theory is that after like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or whenever, right before it got dark, we walked the field and we didn't see much green at all. We saw like 4 green guys. And it seemed like everybody was like, all right, well, we already won. You know, we already did great today. There's no need to stay around. And at that point, we walked around. All the flags were orange, which is the tan color, which is on the hour, every hour. The refs take count of how many flags are orange versus green. And they report back. And that gets you like 1,000 points, I think, per hour or something like that, something along those lines. So I think that the complacency on their part might have been why, but I'm not entirely sure, because they definitely beat us back. Like conventionally, they beat us back, but I think, you know, just from them leaving early, that's probably how we got our W. So one fun thing that we did, me and this other guy that was in our group, his name's Moody, he and I basically ditched our rifles or our big guns back at the spawn, and we're like, hey, I'm here to have fun. And so we went around with our pistols and like they give you like, they let you print out maps that are about yay big. You put like 6 of them on a page, and I gave them to him. I gave one to him, gave one to me, and we just walked around basically and like pretended like we were just sightseeing. And it was so dumb and stupid. Like we weren't dead. We were in play, but we were just walking around with no guns up, you know, acting like we were just trying to figure out where stuff was and seeing if we could like make any changes, make any difference. So at that point, I was handed before, this is like 2 hours before, I was handed like some in-game currency, and I wanted to go find a way to use it. So I know that you could pay the black team to be with your side for 10 minutes with, I think, $10,000 of in-game money. Yeah, so we walked around we found this area called the town, where in the 2nd story building there was the CEO of the black team was up there, and we paid him to be on our team for another. So it turned out to be like 25 minutes in total that we got, because they were already on our team for, I think, 20 minutes before that. So that was interesting, like just being able to walk everywhere and not really getting shot at. We went around the back route of the town. I forget where. I think, no, we went to the castle and we just nonchalantly walked up and switched the flag back to orange. nobody bothered us really. Like we took fire, but we were just kind of like looking around, like not reacting to it. So it looked like we weren't, weren't bothered by it. Like we never said anything like we were not in play. We didn't put our dead rags up and walk around. As a matter of fact, when we were walking around back around towards the town, around the rear of it, we did get shot. I got shot, and Moody didn't get shot, so he medicked me, and we just kept rolling. Um, we kept walking around, and this is all parts of the field I hadn't seen up until then because I was on defense, so that wasn't my prerogative to go out and run around. So it was cool to see the field. It's a great field. They have at OTP, really big, lots of area. So, but yeah, at one point back behind, like between the green spawn and the town, or something like that, there was a group of 3 or 4 that was questioning us, and we just kind of like walked right by them. We ignored them, like actively ignored them, like looked at our maps and like like pretended like we were, oh yeah, like we're over here. It was really cool. It was really fun. So had a lot of fun doing that. That was one of the more memorable things that we did that day. And then by the time we got like made a loop all the way around the map and we got back to spawn, I think it was almost dark. So we kind of packed it up and we got ready for dark stuff. So part of the game was supposed to go into the night, and they were supposed to have like a separate, like around like 9 p.m. Like a zombies attack the castle kind of thing. Well, not everybody got the memo that the game was over early, because we had, I think, tan and green coming into the castle, and black team was going to be attacking from the outside, right? So tan and green were supposed to be in there. Well, we got attacked by an element of green, like I think 6 guys with nods, and it was like I guess they saw the glow sticks that we put out around the castle, and they were attracted. They wanted to go and be operator, and if they didn't know, they didn't know. That's fine. But I figured they should have figured something was up. If everybody's just standing around, I'm up in the tallest part of the castle, and I'm looking around like, just looking to look, and I get lit up. Like 6 shots right here on my right hand side, like totally unnecessary, but it's nighttime. What are you gonna do? Now, if you got nods and you did that, I would say, hey, screw you, dude. But might have just been an accident, so whatever. Yeah, and then we made them aware, not in the easiest of ways, but we made them aware that the main game was over, and it was time for the mini game. During the mini game, I started out feeling like crap. Was having a hard time moving around. My legs were still not working properly. Just didn't have enough. I didn't really get enough calories the whole day for what I was burning. I couldn't tell you what the numbers were, but I know it was a deficit. And I was taking cover behind one of the outer walls, and some nausea came over me, some real bad nausea. So I moved back into the inner blockhouse, and it was worse. Like I was just sitting there, like in Last Stand Alamo mode, like with my pistol out, like trying to shoot whoever was going to come through the doorways. And at one point I told the CO, like, hey man, I'm not feeling good. And he's like, all right, well, we got to get you off the field. He was about to call a ceasefire. I was like, no, don't do that. I don't want to ruin everybody's good time because I was a dumbass. Like, don't do that, please. So at the end of the day, I just ended up, I think he tried at first to like make a path for me or like let people know that I was dead and walking. Didn't really matter. Like people were going to shoot anyway. I didn't care. If I got hit because I was an idiot and I didn't take care of myself, that's on me. So I got out. I got back to the car. I got food, some water, and I was decent, Then we all showed up back for the raffle. I almost won a couple of things, but it was a good night, I think. I learned a lot. I learned how unprepared I was. I learned what not to do, what to do. My skills at playing airsoft I think they're okay. I think they're decent. But it all depends on like the kit, like what your role is. Like this, if you want to go run and gun with this, good luck. Your role is going to be to sit off on the flank or like right just behind the front line, not way back, but just behind the front line and suppress. Like that's what my job was supposed to be. And most of the time, more often than not, I would be suppressing with this thing, but I would also try to be pushing. And that was that was not it, man. So yeah. So yeah, but a little bit about this thing though. Now we're gonna get into, I'm sure, what some people are watching this video for. I apologize it took so long. I just wanted to share my experiences with Nomad Milsim's Final Order 2 because I thought it's notable about how much I learned about myself, about my preparedness, and about this. Excuse me. So, first things first, just to describe this thing in a couple words. It's a SEMA AK. It's like an AK 103 or 104 or something like that. I forget what the front end furniture looks like. But inside of this is PVC and plywood. It's a shell. That's basically it. And what I want to do, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet, is either make a completely new one of these and just save this for like posterity. Like, you know, it'd be cool, I think, to just keep this around as like, you know, just to look at and say, hey, like I did this, you know, I built this. This was the first one, the first generation. But I might end up actually modifying this. I don't know. I don't have a lot of space to work with. As you can see, I'm kind of cramped in here. It's a very small basement at my new house. So I might just, like what I want to do personally is on the real 1919, which is what this thing was modeled after, technically. There is, like, it's way thinner than this. I don't know if you can see just how thick this thing is, but it's about, like, yeah. Basically, if you took the plywood, which I think is like 1/2-inch plywood, and you replaced it with some, I have some metal trough from my job that was gonna get thrown away. Replace it with the walls of that. I think that would do it pretty well. So a couple of things, like I made a short video about the upgrades I did to this thing, but I actually did some further things to it since that video was taken. This was like the night before the game. So before, I used to have electrical tape around the battery compartment, right? So these are 2200 milliamp hour batteries. They did not fit, like, because the original spot for the batteries was under the actual receiver for the AK. And this comes up to access it, right? So you can take the receiver cover off and you got your batteries right there. Well, what I did was, in order to make the battery compartment, or batteries fit into a compartment, was I took 2 metal tubes, stuck them right here on the side, and I hardwired a Tamiya connector right here. And I think I want to rewire that to a Dean's here soon. I don't know. I don't know how it makes a difference. Everybody says Dean's is better. I'm sure there's science behind it. I don't care personally. But what I did here was I used to stick the battery in here and tape, like electrical tape, all the way around it. And then I'd be putting, that would be it. That would be how I held it in. So what I did here was I stuck I think it's an 832 screw and a bolt up and through here to stop from going forward. And then you can take this part off. Oh, Jesus, it's still on. Take this part off. Whoopsie. And you can pull your batteries out. Okay, simple as that. And stay right back in there. There might be, in the future, I might make it a little bit more streamlined. You know, like putting something in there that's just like a hand latch so that you don't have to, you know, potentially lose this little tiny nut. So there's that. I think that was it, really. I put some brackets up here, up front. Up in the front here, you can see there's 2 brackets on either side. I think what has happened is, since the addition of those 2 brackets, it's pulled the barrel to the left a tiny bit, and it has made it so that, I noticed this while I was shooting it, that like every 5th shot or so, it hits the inside of the barrel and it dings off in some weird direction, right? So that's obviously not, it didn't used to do that before the brackets. So that needs to be realigned. So that's got to be done. The biggest thing though, the biggest hiccup, hardest thing to hear, I should say, when I got there, was that this thing was shooting like half the potential that it could be. I was told that, and I never fired anything with 0.58 gram BBs. that's heavier than I think I would personally ever use. But they use that, I guess, for, it's called jewel creep purposes. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure there's videos on it. You can go look it up. But if you use like a super light BB, it doesn't take quite as accurate of a reading. When they chronograph your gun, chronograph is when, if you're watching this, you probably already know, but chronograph is when they test and see how fast your gun, the projectiles coming out of your airsoft gun, are going with a little handheld device. And that is dependent on the weight of the BB. Like, you've got BBs that are as light as 0.12 gram. Nobody uses those. I use 0.20s, 0.20s. That's what's in here. That's what's in here. And I only use that because it's cheaper by a long shot than 0.25s, anything really. And it's approximately what the completely bone stock AK can handle, right? And that was, yeah, when they told me that, like, I think at 0.58s, your gun can shoot up to 115 FPS. Mine was shooting at like 60. I was like, okay. I didn't know it was that bad. Like, I knew it wasn't great. Like, I'd never done anything to the internals in this thing. That's not, I don't like doing that kind of stuff personally. It's not my forte. I don't like getting into like small tiny stuff and trying to make it work, because I feel like anything could go wrong when I put it back together. That's my own personal, my personal problem with it. I know it probably, yeah. Anyway, yeah, the gun sucks, basically, is what they told me. The gun was terrible. And with 0.58s, yeah, it was definitely terrible. But like, I just used this the weekend prior, and it did great. It did fantastic for what it was designed to do. Keeps heads down. I don't care how fast the BB's going. When it hits by you, or like ting 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 around your cover, you're not gonna pop your head up. It's just psychological. That's what the goal of this was. So it did that. Did that pretty well. I think I could stand to use like a slightly heavier BB, like a 2.5 or a 2.3. Most of my other stuff uses 2.5s just because it's like the bare bones basic M4. Like, if you're getting an airsoft, that's probably what you're going to be using, 2.5s. So yeah, this volume, accuracy by volume, that's what I was going for. Doesn't have great distance, but I didn't need it to, because it shoots about as far as I can see with 0.20s. So I think it's doing great. I think it's don't listen to that. I think it's doing great. But it could stand some upgrades. Like, if I'm being told that it's only doing half of what it could be, then something needs to happen. Something needs to change. I said the same thing about the M4 that I have. It's a Crytac Alpha CRB, shot great out of the box, and then I started messing with it, and now it's like, it's the same, it does the same as this, like 60 FPS with 0.58s, which is nuts. Like, apparently it's nuts. I knew it was shot low, like, I think, it's not important. So, but yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, I learned some very hard lessons, some very important lessons through using this guy and just being an idiot. So I appreciate the opportunity. It's not all the time that I'm spending like $80 to go to a Milsim, so I wanted this to be a good experience. Thankfully, they allowed me to have a good experience. So yeah, I surely need to improve. And if anybody's out there that's watching this video who was there as well, let me know. We can talk about it. I think it was fun. That's like when I'm playing in the backyard or like at somebody's house. Half the fun to me is talking about how things went afterwards. Like having the experience with your friends, your buddies. That's half the fun to me. I don't get a lot of like. I get some, dopamine from the fact that people think that what I build is cool. It's not that cool, really, in my opinion. Like, I think I could do way better. It's just with ADD and not having a lot of time or energy, it can be difficult to justify, getting meticulous with anything. Like, I could probably make something that looks very realistic with the 1919, but when this was built, it was originally to set up somewhere on a field that we were hosting at, so that players could have something to shoot other players with that was like, that looked like a machine gun. And I took it and I ran with it. You know, it's not super heavy, but it's also not, you know, as light as your M4, maneuverable as your M4. You kind of have to just aim by looking where the BBs are going, which is, you know, that's why I switched to my M4 for the night game, because I knew that I couldn't just, you know, aim like that, especially when the guys in the dark could be, you know, 10 feet away. You don't want to be doing that. So, yeah, I like it though. Had fun. Yeah, like I said, let me know what you guys thought of the game. Let me know what you guys think of Nomad Milsim's events. Like everything else, it could use some improvement, and they are on top of it. And I would definitely attend another game. The issues I discussed, they're not, you know, proprietary to Nomad, Milsim, or the field. You know, these things happen in airsoft. I hate hearing when people just, you know, I don't know, like they let things ruin it for them, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. So as long as you're having fun, that's what matters. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. I'd like to make this either YouTube, TikTok, or whatever. If I can monetize it, that means that I can put all of that money, 100% of it, back into stuff like this. So you don't have to look at an AK inside of a plywood shell. All right, I can build something that's actually proper and good. All right, so please like and subscribe, share if possible. I appreciate every little bit.